Sima Qian is widely regarded as the father of Chinese history. How did he gain such a title? What we know about Sima Qian comes mainly from his own writing. His seminal work was The Record of the Grand Historian, or the Shiji. He was born around 145 BCE in Longmen, now Shanxi, in the Han Empire. His father, Sima Qian, was a grand astrologer, or Taishi, under Emperor Wu. This role mainly involved divination based on observation of the calendar and keeping a record of state affairs. He was said to be working on a historical record when he died, but history was very much on the sideline of his role. In 126 BCE, Sima Qian began a tour around China, which saw him leave the imperial capital, Chang'an. On his travels, he said to have visited Khufu, the hometown of Confucius, where he studied traditional subjects. Sima's later writing was influenced by Confucius. It praised the deeds of noble leaders acting in the ways of a Confucian sage emperor. In 110 BCE, he supposedly asked Sima Qian to complete his histories as he lay on his deathbed. In 107 BCE, he was promoted to his father's former office of Taishi. He was initially well regarded by the emperor, and in 104 BCE, he was appointed to a committee which was tasked with reforming the calendar, which was a trusted position. His fortunes turned in 99 BCE when he defended General Li Ling, who was charged with treason after he was crushed by the Zhongnu in the north. He refused reinforcements and lost thousands of men before surrendering and being taken prisoner. Sima Qian angered Emperor Wu by defending Li Ling. The emperor was insulted and had Sima Qian arrested. Sima Qian was then forced to choose between castration and 3 years in prison or execution. The accepted and honourable thing to do would have been to ask the emperor to be permitted to commit suicide. However, Sima Qian chose imprisonment, as he felt he had to complete the histories which his father had started. His decision to live on in humiliation and complete what would become the Shiji transformed the understanding of Chinese history forever. He is held up alongside Confucius' Spring and Autumn Annals as the two great works of early Chinese history.
Sima's masterpiece, the Shiji, took 18 years to write, and at 520,000 words and 130 chapters, it is 3 times the length of the New Testament. The challenge was to organize 2,000 years of history into a single work. Sima Qian split his text into 5 sections. The Annals give a dated and chronological outline of events at the emperor's court. The Tables examines the wider empire and feudal lords across China. The Treatises is a history of 8 parts of Chinese life, from music to astronomy. The Heretical Houses is a collection of chronicles of the great families of China. Some stretch back to the Bronze Age Shang dynasty. 40% of Shiji is the biographies. They comprise of anecdotes on many figures throughout Chinese history. The book then finishes on a small autobiography of Sima Qian. This monumental text includes everything from eyewitness accounts to dated timelines. Sima Qian also speaks of his travels throughout China as a young man. He states, in general, those of their accounts which do not differ from the ancient texts seem to be near the truth. This indicates he used the oral histories of the Chinese peasantry, as well as the vast collection of resources to him available at the emperor's court, to compose Shiji. By the later Han period, 10 chapters had already been lost, including multiple biographies and a history of the military. Just a few decades after Sima Qian's death, the book had to be rewritten by Chao Shaosong. Sima Qian also took over the project from his father's notes, and we will never know how much of the project had already been completed when Sima Qian took over. The last record we have of Sima Qian is a letter he wrote to his friend Ren An. The letter appears to be a polite decline to aid Ren An in any attempt to reduce his sentence for participating in a rebellion. Sima states that he is just a mutilated man with no influence at court, and died in around 86 BCE, and you can still visit his tomb in Hangzhou City. For centuries people have walked up the wooded hill and under the arches to see his circular brick grave. There is a stele, likely placed in the Qin dynasty, that reads, Sima Qian, keeper of the calendar, and astronomer of the Han. Qian's work would form the basis for all future great works of Chinese history, right up to the 20th century, and he has provided us with the most complete history of early China. Without his sacrifice, much of what we know about the men and women of the Zhou dynasty and the Warring States period would have been lost to history.